Or you can use that one.
Look at all these beautiful, beautiful faces after so many couple years. I can see all the beautiful smiles instead of here on up. And wow. It makes me happy. It really does. I do want to say Gunachish for the land acknowledgement. I just wanted to welcome everyone here at this wonderful, wonderful, wonderful event. It's I just wanted to mention to Ate for having me come here and to do a welcome. I just happened to do a dance practice down by the whale, and then I came straight here. So a lot of duties that I cover, and I love every minute of it. And it's good to see family, friends, and it's. I want to say congratulations to these women. Where's 2022 Women of Distinction? Congratulations to this year's honorees. And if I pronounce your names, please forgive me. I'll do my best. Benty Reed, Maria Lavishek, Dr. Bridget Weiss, and I left two of them for the last because I know who they are. And I do want to make a special mention to Nancy. I happened to be in Sitka a couple of weeks ago to see my mother, and Nancy gave me some fish, which we boiled up. We added mashed potatoes to it to thicken up the juice, and onions, and we boiled all that up, and put a sprinkle of seaweed into her dish. Took it to my mother. And there was no words that came out of my mother's mouth other than num, num, with each bite. And I'm sorry I didn't contact you earlier, but I've been busy since I got back home. But I thought I wanted to thank you in person and in public for what you have done in giving us fish for my mother to eat. She misses that kind of food. And I saw what she gets at the Pioneers' home, and I wasn't too happy, but at least she enjoyed it. So gunachish. And now with Kitty, she's always got a big smile on her face, always. And I remember her way back when my boys were young, and they had the program at the schools, and I'm glad that she happened to survive my 4 boys. So it's always good to see them. With the land acknowledgement, for some of you that don't know what Occoquan territory covers, it's from Berners Bay, northern tip of Admiralty Island, all of Douglas Island, all of Juneau area, and down to the end of Seymour Canal. This is all Occoquan territory. And for those that, if this is your first time in Juneau, just out of curiosity, how many of you is the first time here in Juneau? Raise your hand. Wow. Well, anyway, Welcome. So thank you so much, and enjoy your dinner. And Nancy and Kitty, it is always good to see you. It always is. And Donna, I haven't seen her for a while, and her mother, haven't seen her for a while. And if I know there's others out there that I know, but I got this bright light that's shining right here. So, Gunachish, enjoy your dinner, and thank you for having me here to give you a welcome. Gunachish.
So I got so excited about being back after 2 years, I forgot to tell you who I am. Some of you have met me. 3 people in this room I've arrested. No, I'm just joking. My name is Chris Sell. I'm a retired lieutenant from the Juneau Police Department. I've been retired for several years now, and AWARE graciously keeps bringing me back to host this event. This is my 4th time here for the Women of Distinction 22. I know. Mandy Cole just told me if I do a 5th MC, I get a toaster. The 4-slicer. So I'm kind of excited about that. We have such a special night tonight. As you can see, Women of Distinction, this event has changed a little bit, right? We used to have all of those silent auction items. We used to have all of those outcry auction items. We used to have a dessert auction. And AWARE's handling things a little bit differently. We're back to our roots. We're back to what this event really means, which is to honor the incredible women that are here tonight. And AWARE is a very ethical, very respectful community organization, and they didn't want to go around and ask businesses for a lot of things when everybody has struggled with the last couple of years. So I really respect their decision. Don't you respect that decision? Now, I know that there are probably business owners in here who were happy to not be approached, and other people who were happy not to be approached. I ask you to still reach into your hearts and reach into your wallets, because the good work of AWARE has to continue. And you know, all these social stressors didn't make domestic violence better. As a matter of fact, it made things a lot worse in many cases. Separating families from their normal routines was devastating for a lot of groups. So we are here to celebrate the good work of AWARE and support that, and to support these amazing ladies. Can I have another round of applause for our honorees? They're just remarkable. We also have a very special treat for you tonight, which we are going to have a women's drum circle that I have to admit, during the dress rehearsal, I was a little bit emotional. This is very powerful. I'm so excited that this is going to be happening for all of you. And I would like to welcome up, and I want to make sure I say this correctly, Sleetsini Shah Strong Women. If we could have you up here, please.
Good evening to everybody here this beautiful, gorgeous day. It is an honor that I'm standing here next to one of my sisters, Noreen Otness. Noreen was asked by AWARE if our circle of women would have the honors of blessing this event. For many of you, I apologize. My name is Rhonda Butler, and I would like to take a moment to say Gunash Chish Hawa to the Akwan people whose land we do gather. Gunash Chish. I'm blessed to also introduce our beloved, most precious gift, our elder who sits with us, Lillian Hillman. Will you please stand? Gunishish Lillian, for what you bring to each of us. Lillian Hillman is the clan mother of the Dukdane Tan. Her Tlingit name is Kashaiwat. She was born and raised in Hoona, and she's the child of the Kagwan Tan and the grandchild of the Chukanadi. My sisters and I were very blessed to call her Auntie. She gifted us our name, Klatsini Shah, strong women. She's seen something in each of us when we gather to sing and hold our people up, the power and strength that comes with that. And we are so honored and blessed to have you with us, Auntie. Gunishish. Our first song is a prayer song. It is traditionally sung to honor and acknowledge women. And that's what we're here tonight doing. We're acknowledging and honoring some beautiful, strong women in our communities. And this is a song sung across the indigenous lands. And it's a prayer we send for our ancestors to honor and hold them up, to provide that strength and guidance on our journeys. The Woman's Prayer Song.
May I Good afternoon. We would like to invite our honorees up to join us. They're going to join the drum. You ladies are strong, you're powerful, you are honored. This one's for you guys.
is the children's blessing song, and it was written while I was sitting on the beach, and it seemed appropriate to sing this song because Aware looks after the women and children and families in our community, and so do all the women of distinction tonight. All look after our children in our communities. So, Gunesh Chish. Thank you for the children. Wrap them in your love today. Thank you for the children. Protect them from all hurt and pain. Blessings to the children.
Wow. How powerful was that? You know, I told myself after tearing up in the dress rehearsal that I was going to have makeup on when we did this, and I was not going to do that. So I looked at Maria. Well, that didn't help. So I looked at Mandy. That also didn't help. So it's hard to be distant from what just happened here. But we are going to now talk about some other amazing people who are in this room, and I saw a lot of them. Could I please see the past honorees standing? I've already seen you, Jordan. Don't hide. Past honorees, could you please stand? So many amazing women. So we also have some of our leaders here in the room with us, some of our political leaders. We have Wade Bryson and Greg Smith, assemblymen, who are here. Nice to see you. Representative Sarah Hannon. I don't know you, but she sounds popular. Representative Andy Story. And I saved for the last my friend Senator Jessie Keel. I wanted to talk a little bit about Jessie. I'm actually pleased to see he's here because Jessie, isn't next weekend the legislative shoot? I thought he might be home practicing, or at least cleaning guns, but I have shot against Jessie competitively, not in anger, and he's good. He's real good, and so I know some of you may not know that. His weapon of choice seems to be the shotgun. So it's nice to know that if Juneau's ever invaded, like by Canada, unlikely, Douglas, could happen. That little town's got an attitude. Or Russia that we can't really see from here. Oh, okay. And if that happens, I want you to remember that Jessie's our version of Zelensky. So you're going to want to line up with him and just provide him ammo, not a ride. So we also have another representative. Is Harry Drummond here? All right, great. Thanks so much. I'm sorry about that. Welcome. It's so nice to see you here. So you may have noticed the envelopes on your tables. Those are not to pay your taxes. Well, it sort of is. It's to pay your taxes for the good work that Aware does here. Those envelopes are the only way, in addition to tickets, that they're making money tonight. So there's not going to be a whole bunch of auction items. It's going to be between you and what you feel like you can do. And we know that times have been tough for a lot of people, but some people are very blessed. I know when I think of who is the most blessed and lucky person I know, well, it's me. I've been very blessed and very lucky, and if you are also fortunate to be able to say that, now is a good time to exercise one of those blessings, which is power. Power in your community, power to affect change, power to lift up somebody else. And some of the things that Aware has to pay for are taxi rides for people fleeing abusive situations. Food for people in shelter. Do you know feeding a family of 4 in shelter takes $100 a day? That's not very surprising in Juneau, is it? $25 for one person to eat for a day. So a family of 4 in the shelter, that's $100. Aware is building this amazing project of 7 efficiency apartments that people can move into and get on their feet and then move on to other situations. But did you know one of the big stressors when people flee domestic violence is doing laundry? I mean, think about it. We're in our house. We throw in a load of clothes at breakfast. When we get home, maybe we throw them in the dryer. Not a big deal, right? Imagine if you have fled a domestic violence situation and you don't have a car, and you've got kids to take care of, and you've got to get everybody to the laundromat. You have to feed an incredible number of quarters into the machine. You have to wait there for hours, making that your entire evening or entire weekend day. That exacerbates stress a family's already under. And so a washer-dryer combo for one of those efficiency apartments is $1,500. If you are so blessed that you could help family after family after family relieved of just one evening a week of stress, that would be a great thing to do. So those envelopes are also going to get you in for some great door prizes. We'll collect the envelopes at the intermission, but there'll still be a few envelopes wandering around if you're inspired to make more donations after 4 or 5 glasses of wine. We won't stop you. So there will be envelopes if you're so moved, and then there'll be another round of door prizes at the end of the night that you can get your name in again. So it's a very kind of efficient type of fundraising this year. So I ask you to give generously because Aware is really doing the right thing. And with no further ado, I would like to invite up the incredible executive director of Aware, and a person that I'm happy to say is my friend, Mandy Cole.
She's good, right? Yeah. I was kind of like writing a check, and I was like, shit, wait a minute. You're the executive director. You already do this. But I want to thank you all for being here tonight. If we haven't met, I'm Mandy Cole, the executive director of Aware. And before I begin, I want to take a minute and give thanks again to the Aquan people and Takaquan who've taken care of these lands since time immemorial. And you want to know why? Thank you. Thank you for asking. Because we know that the land our bodies, and our hearts are inextricably linked. We know that we can't be well and we can't celebrate without honoring our spirits and the earth and those who have been and still are its thoughtful stewards. So thank you. Next, I want to thank the survivors who brought us here to this day, this very moment. Some of us are in the room. Some of us are at the shelter. And some of us are in our homes. Some of us are safe. And some of us live with constant danger. Some of us cope by talking to our friends and families. And some of us cope by trying to forget, by using alcohol or drugs or sex. Some of us are well on the path to healing, and others are just starting. There are no wrong paths. Let me say that again. There are no wrong paths. We're here with you wherever you are. Our hearts are full of your pain, your joy, and most of all, your dignity and strength. Thank you for your trust in us. Speaking of us, thank you to our board of directors. Please take a minute to stand, you beautiful people. Come on. Come on, stand up. These folks give their time and their love to take care of us so that we can take care of others. I just stabbed myself with my own corsage. It's not very cool. They use their experiences, their connections, and their expertise to guide us through a confusing world. They never ask for praise. In fact, I bet you most of them are uncomfortable that I asked them to stand. But even if you don't like it, Board of Directors, it's important to me to acknowledge your excellent guidance. And I hope you all get a chance to know these strong hearts like I have, because you will be better for it. And finally, I want to talk to you about our staff. Staff is an impersonal word. It can hardly encompass the work that these incredible people do every day. Exactly. Squeal for them. Just so you know, our work is not what you see on TV when they do a special about domestic violence. We don't spend our days sweetly offering tea and a listening ear to sad families. That image definitely generates sympathy, but it isn't real. Or more accurately, it's one small element of our reality. This shouldn't be a surprise to you. Think about how you were on the most heartbreaking or scary point of your life. My guess is, if you're anything like me, you were not calmly sad. You probably felt fear and rage and an ache that you weren't sure could ever be soothed. When people reached out to you, you might have pushed them away. When help was a phone call away, you couldn't pick up the phone. And when others around you seemingly picked themselves up and shook themselves off and moved on, you felt stuck. And you blamed yourself and your friends and maybe the whole world, which probably meant you were, in the most massively understated terms, difficult to be around. So what changed? Who braved your confused, angry, sad world to stick with you? Who didn't try and cheer you up or minimize your pain or gently shame you into pretending that everything was okay? Who, instead, sat by you, understood the angry words and knew that those words were important to get out? Who shut down the power plays and listened in a way that made your words feel important, the most important, and held your hand? Who didn't tell you what they would do or what you should do or what a smart, cool, strong, together person would do? Instead, they affirmed that whatever you did was the right thing, that you know your own body and heart, and that you are the smartest, coolest, strongest, most togetherest you in the whole world, and that will carry you through. I work with a whole team of those folks. They look at the most awful things that people do to one another, and they say, let me hold some of that for you. We can figure a way through together. We can be stronger together. So stand up, my aware staff. Come on, darlings, stand up. I know you don't want to, but you should. And let us celebrate you. Women, and to be together in a way we haven't been allowed to gather in so long. And that is a good thing. I can't wait for you to hear some of the stories that I've heard over the past few weeks from our women of distinction. Their accomplishments are amazing. From creating the first permanent supportive housing in Juneau, and to starting parenting groups and holding families together in the most difficult of times, and bringing Tlingit culture and language programs to schools. I don't think I can overstate how important these things are. But I wouldn't be authentic to our cause and to our mission if I didn't highlight how hard it is sometimes to hold this community together. At Aware, we have values that we hold dear: equity, integrity, inclusion, community, wholeheartedness. We try and bring these values to the big and small things that we do. But the whole honest truth is, sometimes we miss the mark. Sometimes we do things that cause harm, or we don't do something and that causes harm. We are dedicated to listening to your perspective, our dear and varied community, to better understand the ways in which our work in survivor services, equity initiatives, housing supports, all of it, helps, and we want to repair when it doesn't. And you might be thinking, that's a nice thing to say. Aware's pretty progressive. And it's true. This process is beautiful at the 30,000-foot level, and pretty easy to say as I stand up here giving a speech where you can't talk back to me. But the process of learning from your mistakes and navigating repair is often painful and confusing when you're in the thick of it. It is my sincerest hope that you have patience with us, and will extend that same grace to you as we all move forward with good intentions and open hearts. We want to be real with you, with the women who are serving this community, and with survivors. This means everything to us. So tonight, as we celebrate Kitty and Nancy, Bridget and Bunty, and Maria, I would like to appreciate how well they and the other folks in this room care for us. I'm so proud to be here with them, with you, and to kind of light up Juneau tonight with our gratitude. So thank you so much.
Incredible Mandy Cole and her staff. They are emotional marathon runners. They do so much, and they take on so much that would be so exhausting and so defeating for others. So just an incredible group. And now I'm going to introduce you to someone that if I was ever half as strong as she is, I would be so grateful. She's my hero. If you ever have asked yourself, but for the grace of God, could I have lived what she lived through? I don't know. I don't know if I could have. But I am so grateful that she's strong enough to now share her story, because it means so much. Christina Love, please welcome.
Koyana Gunishchish. My name is Christina Love. My family are the Kellys and the Ablamas from Igigik village. I was raised in the village of Chitna. I invite my ancestors and the divine spirit to be with me as I share my story with all of you. I'm incredibly grateful to be here. I can't even express how grateful I am to be here. Everything that I have and everything that I am is because of this community and because of all of you. I think about the way that I parent my children, and that's because I watched you. I watched you talk on the phone to your loved ones. I watched you answer the call to your partner. I carefully studied your body language and how you dress. I saw the way that you loved one another. I came to Juneau many years ago with a heavy burden. I'd survived a lot of violence. And I think that that is an incredible thing to acknowledge, that here in the state of Alaska, 1 in 2, greater than now with our newest statistics, 1 in 2 of every woman in the entire state has the potential to be physically assaulted or sexually assaulted within their lifetime. With the exception of Alaska Native women, we have an 85% chance of being physically assaulted, sexually assaulted within our lifetime. And with those statistics, the chances increases. So once you have been physically assaulted or sexually assaulted, the chances of being assaulted again increases. The chances of homelessness and poverty and mental health and substance use also increases, which is a really important part of my story, is to normalize the ways that people survive. So when Mandy said we celebrate all pathways, that's all we're doing. It isn't a coincidence that women are harmed more than men, that Native women are harmed more than non-Native people, or that people with disabilities are harmed at higher rates. It is not a coincidence that people who live on the margins are harmed at most rates, are LGBTQ, which brings us to the people who are not in this room. Marie Riley. Lori D. Wilson, Tracy Day, Samantha Garton. Samantha passed away a couple of weeks ago. Marie was murdered last year. These are women that I was homeless with. These are women that I was incarcerated with. These are women that I knew, women that I loved, women that should be here today. It shouldn't be a coincidence who answers the phone or who answers the door. I'm here in front of all of you because one day, Paul Finch was the person who answered the phone, a physician's assistant who understood the connection between substance use and trauma. And so when I came to him for help with IV heroin use, he told me that I wasn't a bad person. Paul told me that he believed that I had survived significant trauma, and he was the first person that ever told me that recovery was possible. He was the first person that looked me in the eye and saw my worth as a whole person. He didn't make me feel small. He didn't judge me. He gave me education. He gave me liberation. Paul believed in me. Another person that answered the door many years ago was Rachel Brown, who at the time was a children's counselor. She was pregnant. And so she decided that she would take the position of volunteer coordinator. So when I came to the door, after working some programs in recovery, and I told her that I was incredibly upset with programs like AWARE, then I carried this heavy burden on my heart because there were other programs around the state that after I had been brutally sexually assaulted, I was denied services to, or programs that blamed me for my own sexual assaults because I was under the influence. They told me things like, if I hadn't been on heroin, then I wouldn't have been sexually assaulted. Or if I hadn't been an alcoholic, then I wouldn't have tried to take my own life. But Rachel, too, sat with me and saw me as a whole person. She never judged me. She listened to me. And in my attempt to transform services, they transformed me. That speech that Mandy gave you, every word of it is real. And you can feel it when you sit in her presence. And AWARE does this incredible thing, and that is that they are true advocates. Now, I think it is important for all of you to take a moment, and I want you to think about the person who makes you feel like the best version of yourself. Close your eyes if you have to. For me, it is my grandmother. It is Mandy Cole, Sarah Lynn Tabachnik, Atina Sia, Swarupa, Kim, Alice. These are all advocates. It's important to think about what characteristics that they have when you sit in their presence. I feel deeply loved. I feel deeply seen. I feel celebrated. I feel empowered. I feel like I could overcome anything. Those connections, you know what it feels like to sit in the presence of somebody who doesn't see you and celebrate you, which is why it is so incredibly important for all of us. You know, when I think back through my life to the things that really made the difference, you know, when people ask me what was the turning point, you know, how did I become who I am today and all that I have? And it was people and it was connections that allowed me to level up, to go from poverty to middle class, to go from addicted into recovery, to let go of years of shame and fear and pain, to live free, to be able to sleep at night and feel comfortable in my own skin. Because those are the things that assault takes from us, our identity, our sense of worth. And this is what connection does, is it restores it. It is so incredibly important for all of you to do a couple of things. One is to believe that recovery is possible no matter what. No matter what. And recovery should always be the expected outcome. Always. The other thing is to hold hope for people until they can hold it for themselves. That means that each person that you encounter, no matter what it looks like, I spent many, many, many years homeless, addicted, struggling with mental health issues, and I don't have any of those issues today. And so it is incredibly important that when we encounter those people, that we believe that they have life on the other side of that we empower them, that we not judge them, that we understand, that we begin to educate ourselves about why addiction is a disease of the brain and why trauma is more of a wound to the body than it is a mental health issue, and how historical trauma and generational trauma play a part in all of that, and how our community is only as strong as the person who has the least amount of power. Then in that, I believe that because I came here to Juneau, because I encountered community, because I encountered people who believed in me, then that gave me an opportunity to dream big, to live a life bigger than I ever could have hoped for. So for all of you to believe that recovery is possible to no matter what, and to hold hope for people until they can hold it for themselves. And so with that, I thank you so much for the 2022 honorees. I'm so incredibly grateful to be a part of this community and to continue to invest so that every single person who's seeking safety and shelter has an opportunity to have everything that I have and more. And I thank all of you for dreaming big for our community and each one of those individuals. And more than anything, I thank you so much to Aware. Koyana Kunishtish.
How strong is she? Could you have made it from the streets, from heroin addiction, to being abused and assaulted, shamed? The street person that we don't look at when we walk into Heritage Coffee? Could you have gone from being that person to the beautiful, incredible woman that she is today? A mother who just had a baby named Jackson. She's healthy and strong, and so I find her so inspiring, because for those of us who have not had to go through that, have not been the homeless person that people wouldn't make eye contact with, What's that worth? What kind of power do you have now to lift up another Christina? Because there's more. They're there right now. They're outside this building right now. And the work is not going to be done. The work is getting worse, actually. 85% of Native women abused, half of the other women abused. And I still kind of suspect it's underreported. I mean, I hate to be cynical, but my experience tells me that even that is still low. So I want you to reach into your hearts and decide what you can do for AWARE to support their mission. And now we're going to get to the reason you're all here, which is to hear from some amazing women. Are you ready? Okay. Keep your hands and feet inside the ride at all times, and let's welcome George Hawley.
Gunneth cheese Dogedin Hashugadist then Jochgets I se Deg hit on Ruski Norsk itlan Deloitte chet huts in this so Seldatner this sto Hello, everyone. My name is Jochgets E. George Hawley. I'm Deg on Athabaskan, Russian, Norwegian. I grew up in Soldatna. My mother's family was from the lower Yukon River in Holy Cross. And I live in Soldatna to this day. And I spent a whole number of years here in this community and being held up by the experience of many people in this community, loving each other, having their hand on the pulse of our community and some things that were needed. There's some things sometimes in life where you just know that something is true and something is right. And I came to Juneau in, I think it was 93 or 94, and when I started working at Perseverance Theater, and then to Nakahiti Theater. And I remember walking through our town and I saw a billboard, and it advertised a job. And I said, oh my goodness, that's for me. And that was an Indian Studies instructor, and where I spent so many years then with the school district. And I came to know something, and that was that I was on Tlingit Ani, and that I was a guest here in a foreign land among a beautiful people and civilization and language, and that there were amazing similarities between our peoples, and I felt welcome, and I felt healed by just the process of seeing all of these families working together and holding each other up. And among those was Kitty, Eddie, and Nancy Douglas. How is it that a community as a whole heals from the kinds of different trauma, historic trauma that we have come out of in the last century? How is it that we stand up to be more of resonant with what is right and true? Except that some people are willing to go through it. They can see it, perceive it in their community, and help to answer it. And even though there might not be obvious role models ahead of them, but these are the friends that maybe they draw in other ways and to feed themselves, each other, and hold a whole community up. and bring something to life that hadn't been seen before. This last couple of years have been really amazing as a Dighiton Athabascan man. I had the privilege of being able to work with our Dighiton elders so closely on our language. And this year, COVID took one of our two speakers. And I think what an amazing thing it is to be able to participate here, almost like a family member here in this region. To be fed by the strivings, the true things here in this community. And to be able to name them and appreciate them. I had the honor of being able to work with these ladies and see them day by day and the ways that they would make decisions around what the experience might be for the children. And they involved so many elders and held up the memory of our ancestors and their struggles. So it came to me this a year and a half ago about thinking about these friends who stood in a little bit of a unique time because we're seeing more and more language and beauty happening in many different spaces in our community. And yet these friends came together when there was no language happening in schools, schoolrooms around the school district. There was no systematic way of being able to hold up hakustiye, hayuhatangi. And yet, these two out of this family who had very different approaches to life it always has made for very rich experiences. And so you see how two different kind of worldviews, even within the same family, can really work together to create something remarkable. And Gunath Chish, so much for all your work and help. And I'm so happy that friends at Aware that may know that culture is medicine can help to hold up these healers in our community that I know are always thinking about the well-being of those little ones out there and their connection to their language and their people, and that they can bring together these elders and these really high-minded, beautiful ideals and make them real. And I want to say that I treasure that as an Athabascan man here. Dokidin, and I'd like to welcome one of our women of distinction. Both of them here. Kitty and Nancy.
First of all, Gunak Chish to the Latsini Shah for allowing us to join in the drumming this evening. That was absolutely incredible. I've never felt that resonation in me before. So Gunak Chish for allowing us. Gunak Chish George for the introduction. and the nomination to be one of this year's Women of Distinction. And to Annie, thank you for being part of that too. Gunakshish, Iksikun to both of you. Yak-e Iksatini, Gunakshish Ha'iadi, Kukawatsi Yuhat Duasak, Yanyedi Ayachat, Nishka Ayachat, Takukwan Ayachat. I'll begin by acknowledging the first people's homeland we are on, the Akwan, and thank you, Fran, for that part in the beginning, and our ancestors' people, the Takukwan. Good evening, respected elders, the Aware Board of Directors and staff, honorees, and distinguished guests, family, and friends. This evening, we humbly stand before you, honored to be receiving this recognition. The women being honored are compassionate, committed, and sincere. We have made a difference, each of us in our own way. Behind every strong, successful woman are family and friends. And this evening, I am honored to be with the friends from that end of the room to this end of the room. I am amazed at how many of you are here this evening. But thank you so much. I've just been amazed from the time I walked in. But I thank you this evening because they all contributed to our ability to create change within the Juneau School District. Kunakshish for being here with us this evening. Our late parents, Florence and Frances Eddy, led by example. They worked hard to create an environment in our small home in Sitka that supported our strengths and encouraged us to excel in a time when being Native was not okay. Our parents inspired us to be involved in our communities and stand up for our beliefs. Mom was a quiet Tlingit Nishka woman that taught us to be caring, giving individuals. She volunteered during state and city elections. She helped in our classrooms. She made sure the homeless were fed. She went into homes to feed children and make sure they were safe. And one of her most important roles, she worked tirelessly with Alaska Native Sisterhood Camp 1 as president for many years. Mom taught us the importance of knowing who we are and where we come from and about our Tlingit Nishka heritage. Most significantly, she instilled the value of family. Our dad was a strong advocate for education. He volunteered as a Sitka School Board member and a board member for the Sitka Native Education Program. He taught us the importance of working hard and doing our best. All the hard work Mom and Dad put into the 7 of us children worked out well. Each of us became professionals in the fields of health administration, engineering, social work, and education. We can say with certainty that each of our commitment to family and community comes from what we saw and heard growing up. Mom and Dad expected us to do our best, give back to the community, and work hard in our given fields. I give credit to the work and determination of Ron Williams and the Alaska Native Brotherhood and Sisterhood Camp 2 Education Committee that included Connie Monroe, Emma Woodmark, and Wells Gabier for my hire within the Juneau School District. The committee worked tirelessly with the district to make Native hire a priority. Throughout my career, I connected myself to like-minded Juneau educators wanting to leave a lasting impact on the education of Native children. Nance and I worked tirelessly with Sue Baxter and Karen Mitchell on a teacher research project every afternoon for several years. At the end of the project, the district had the opportunity to collaborate with Alaska Heritage Institute to begin a program focused on improving Alaska Native education by incorporating culture and language into the classroom. The road to making this happen was not easy. The road to making it happen for our assistant superintendent was a failure in his first rounds with all the elementary schools in the Juneau School District. But one Friday night, with our discussion, Sue and Karen said, the two of you should start the program. We called the assistant superintendent, he came right over. In the end, Harborview School supported creating the Tlingit Culture, Language, and Literacy Program. It was not because the curriculum was written and it would be easy, but because the staff trusted Nance and myself. Throughout each of our careers, we built academic excellence in students by teaching the art, science, and mathematics inherent to the Tlingit way of life. We are willing to work hard to create a program we could all be proud of. A teacher's job is never done, especially when starting a new program. Nance and I dedicated countless hours to build a program that infused our culture and our values. A unique collection of Tlingit curriculum that met state academic and cultural standards was developed with Alaska Heritage Institute. We devoted our time to create the TCLL program because it was the first time our families felt they belonged in the Juneau School District, and their children had successful experiences in school. We laughed, we cried, we joked, and we loved our time putting together a never-before-seen classroom in our community. The importance of having a teacher that looks like you, has your values, and understands the struggles that families have makes a tremendous difference. And how did we know that we made a difference? Well, one afternoon, our head custodian stepped into our classroom. As he looked around and admired the cedar baskets, the cedar hats, the button blankets, the drums, and the native art hanging, his eyes teared up, and he stated, "This was my kindergarten classroom, and this is the very first time I have ever seen myself represented in this building." David Hunsaker wrote a play for our students to perform that had Tlingit interspersed throughout it. The evening of the performance, the classroom was filled with siblings, grandparents, aunties, uncles, and siblings. At the end of the play, there were grandparents in tears. This was the first time they had heard our language spoken by young people in a public school without repercussions. Elders, Grandma Selena Everson, Grandpa Bob Milton, Grandma Florence Shakely, and many others worked alongside us to create the TCLL program, and they felt we were making significant positive change in Native education. And currently, there are 2 young women who are working in TCLL that attended the program to 5th grade. In closing, we need to remember that volunteering looks different for every individual. It starts by living our life every day with the mindset that we can make positive changes, whether it's small, medium, or large. Any action makes a difference. It takes each of us to purposely look around and ask, how can I make a difference in the work I do? Gunik Chish.
Clean Gunnach Chish, Miss Kitty. I'm Nancy Douglas, Kitty's better half. And to my defense, I just have to say this because so we decided to take on the obligation of starting the TCLL program, and in our meetings I said, okay, Miss Kitty, you've been doing this job for 15, 20 years already, and I'm sorry, I've never seen a Tlingit Mickey Mouse. So that was our biggest argument at starting out. Yep, she had to put them in the bar. She had to pack them up. So I'll try to be serious now. Why do I work for our community in the ways that I do? As I was preparing and listening to Kitty in her many weeks of preparing her words, I summed it up in quite a few firsts. And my first started at kindergarten, going to school in the Sitka School District, growing up in our family like we did, walking into kindergarten, and even from a very young age, sitting in our circles and participating in the classwork. I wondered, why do I not see who I am as a Native person in the walls that I have to come to every day? So that was my first. In about 4th or 5th grade, the Alaska Native Brotherhood collaborated when the Alaska Indian education funding became available, and we were able to go to school. And at the end of the school day, we were able to go to the Amby Hall and be greeted by the elders that took their time to come to the Amby Hall after school to teach us our culture, our language, our arts. Those elders made a huge impact on my life. This was the first time in an education setting that we were accepted for who we are as Native people. I'm grateful for the opportunity to have worked with those elders, Charlie and Annie Joseph, Ethel McKinnon, Ann Johnson, and many, many more of those elders that enriched our lives, who openly shared their knowledge of our culture with all of us, their grandchildren. We were not their grandchildren. Kitty and I grew up in Sheetka. We're from the Taku Kwan. We were guests all of our growing up on the lands of the Kagwantan. I took the teachings of our elders very serious. When I was in middle school, I was fortunate to be a cultural teaching aide. I had the opportunity to accompany Charlie Joseph Kotlain of the Kagwantan to our elementary school, Baranoff Elementary School. He was teaching kids a lesson, and I was there to hold him up and support him. And I thought to myself as I worked with Charlie that this is what education should look like for our children. From then, I went on to UAF when I graduated from high school. I became very quickly disillusioned with the University of Alaska Fairbanks education program. And I talked to our dad about, I think I need to try something new. And as the youngest daughter, with all of my siblings having graduated from college, that was a no-no in our lives. So that was a very challenging discussion that I had with our dad. But it just didn't make any sense to me, what they were teaching me about being a teacher at UAF. So I quit. But before I quit, I had an opportunity to take one last semester, and they had just started an Elder in Residence program at UAF. And to my blessings, Donna Walk, Austin Hammond, and his assistant, Julie Folta, were the teachers of the class. We became fast friends. I would go to class, I would sit, I would learn, and then in the evenings I would be able to spend my evenings with them. This reconnected me with my thoughts that this is what teaching should look like, not just at the university level, but across our education. So I went, and I did quit going to college. And fortunate for me, just like George's experiences, looking in the newspaper and saying, whoa, the Juneau School District is hiring cultural paraeducators. That's probably a job I could do. So even after being late and being lost trying to find the building that I was supposed to go to for my interview, and finally making it there, I sat with Ronalda Cadiente Brown and her team, and they ended up hiring me. And you'll never guess who was working in the Juneau School District. Austin Hammond and Julie Folta. They became my key mentors in my beginnings of my career. That relationship led us to the TCLL program. And we're always very thankful for Annie Calkins and her encouragement, those late nights of tea at her house, developing curriculum, looking at standards, and Miss Annie guiding us and saying, okay guys, let's stay on track here. So I worked for the Juneau School District for 20 years, and then in 2009 I went home and reconnected with the elders who have guided me all of my life. In 2010, I was hired by the Sitka School District Superintendent Steve Bradshaw as Cultural Director, the first position of its kind in Southeast Alaska. And it was not an easy task, just like Kitty mentioned with her struggles getting hired in the Juneau District. Being hired as an administrator in the Sitka School District, creating a program from scratch was very challenging, not only for me from the point of view as educators, but also the point of view of the Native community. So there were very many disagreements with some members of the Native community about the decisions that I was making and the plans that I was making to help benefit our community. But Steve was an amazing superintendent. We had a huge meeting at the Amby Hall, packed crowd, similar to this. And Steve finally stood up after much dialogue, and he stood up and he said to the whole community, and specifically the Native community, and he said, "You're welcome to call me or stop by my office anytime. I'll listen to what you share and I'll share it with Nancy. But whatever Nancy decides is what the Sitka School District is going to do." And again, our careers have challenges, and working with my team in Sitka and creating curriculum, we had opportunities to come here to Juneau and work with curriculum teams from throughout the region. And at one point, I presented on the behalf of our team a lesson that we had created, which some of our culture bearers and elders disagreed with. And I listened very intently, took copious notes, and I was fortunate to be sitting at the table with Dr. Walter Sobolev. And he leaned over to me and he whispered in my ear, and he said to me, "Don't let them discourage you from doing what you are doing. This is the right thing to do for our children." Being faced with the pandemic and trying to figure out how to support our tribal youth using our computers, our creativity, and our resilience, I think is what brought the nomination from Mr. George. It was our past, but trying to figure out, especially some of us who are non-techie, how to still support our youth. And so George in Soldotna, Kitty here in Juneau, and myself in Sitka, with me guiding, utilizing my team of Sitka educators and the staff of the Sitka Tribes of Alaska, we worked collaboratively with Tlingit and Haida Central Council and provided virtual cultural programming for kids, which developed and waned from during the school year to summers, but it was a very exciting time, and it continues to be. But as I share my words, I think about, again, those key factors in all of my firsts are the words of our elders. Because we cherish you. These words were spoken by elders to Ka'at at the first Sealaska gathering of elders in 1980. And my friend Donna and myself and the audience were teenagers just getting ready to graduate from high school when we participated in that event. And elders were talking to Ka'at because he was a Renaissance man. Elders were thinking when we were young that it was time to put our culture away, that we just needed to not be teaching our kids. But Ka'at said, no, we need our kids to know these things. So all of those elders blessed us with their knowledge. And it is because we cherish our children that we do what we do. But it's not without the support of our elders. We cannot do our work without the support of our elders. So I'd like to thank Tlingit and Haida for bringing elders to join in this celebration with us. It's because it's not without their help that the TCLL program can continue. Programs in Sitka can continue, and throughout our region, we have to have the support of our elders. And in closing, I'd just like to say, and again, holding up our elders, Hawadla Hashtuga Shtuga Dati, our deepest gratitude. Gunalchish Hashlichas, thank you, our grandparents. Hakusti Tlech Yu Uhek, our way of life will never disappear. And with that, those words are very powerful. And those were really the only words I wanted to speak this evening. And I said to George last night at dinner, I need your help to compose a song. So we did. So Mr. George, I'd like you to step up here, Miss Kitty, and we're going to end by sharing a song.
I'm so happy to be standing with these ladies. True people, Tlingit, true human beings. They think about their ancestors and they think about the future. And we pile up our gratitude here in this life. That's why I'm so happy to have nominated them to sing with them here. Gonna cheese. Kuatlan, Kuatlan. It's still new for me. It's still new for me when I'm here. Okay. Kuatlan, Kuatlan, Hashtu Gata. Our way of life will never disappear. Kawadlan, Kawadlan, Hashtu Gadate. Kawadlan,
We do have a couple of tokens for you. Don't get away without your award. Wow. Is there any battle that you would shy away from if you had those two sisters with you? I wouldn't. But I also wouldn't want them to think I was the problem. That is a powerful pair there. So next we have a woman that I think of as our reluctant honoree. Maria Lavishek is an amazing person. She's also very humble and doesn't like a lot of attention. So I'm going to need some volunteers to cover the exits in case she makes a break for it. She's going to have a little extra support up here. And I know that this is hard for some people to do, to be in front of everyone, to be honored like this. And Maria, I so appreciate you doing this, because we don't do this because you need it. We do this because we need it. We need to see the best of the people in our community. We need their inspiration. We need to get in touch with their values and ethics. So I know that you're doing it for us. And I want to thank you. Now if a couple people can grab her and bring her up here, that'd be great, including Mary Alice McKean will be introducing her.
Good evening. I am so happy and honored to be introducing my dear friend Maria Lavishek. But first I've got to give a shout out to the prior nominee. Kitty Eddy taught my daughter Alice for K1 and 2, and it was one of the best experiences in Alice's education, being in Kitty's class for 3 years. And then I also just wanted to give a shout out to one of your other sisters. Is Francine here? Francine, I've known Francine since 1979 when we worked on the first Indian Child Welfare Act in the whole state together. And Francine does incredible work for Tlingit Haida, protecting Native families and helping them. So I don't know all the other sibs, but the two I know are incredible. And I went to Francine and Laird's wedding a gazillion years ago. Okay, sorry, Maria. Back to Maria. It is true. She's so resistant to publicity. It's impossible to get a picture of Maria. I'm surprised she doesn't have a bag over her head or something to prevent, her from being photographed. Maria came to this country with her family when she was 14 years old, and she moved to Juneau by herself when she was 18 years old, and that was in the year 2000. So Maria's been here for 22 years. Now, she's done a lot in 22 years, but I'm only supposed to be up here for a couple minutes, so I'm going to concentrate on the work she's done in the past 13 years. Maria has been executive director of the Glory Hall, formerly Glory Hall, for 13 years. It's by far the longest time any person has been an executive director of the Glory Hall. And the way she carries out the work is incredible. I did a few relief shifts at the Glory Hall and Housing First, and I've seen Maria in action. And the first thing that impresses me about her, she is unfailingly calm and courteous with everyone she interacts with. She calls all the patrons, gentlemen, lady, Mr. this, Miss So-and-so, and she is very polite and kind and calm. But she's incredible. She gets so much done. I just can't even really communicate what a doer Maria is. She just gets stuff done. And I'm reminded of the line in Hamilton where Hamilton meets Lafayette for the first time on the battlefield of York. And they fist bump and they say, "Immigrants, we get the job done." Well, Maria gets the job done. As someone mentioned, so she worked at the Glory Hall, but then saw that there was a need for permanent supportive housing, that people just did not need emergency shelter, that there were people that needed permanent supportive housing. So she was one of the key people to get Housing First done. And of course, one of the other key people was Tlingit Haida Regional Housing Authority that donated the land for a 100 or a 50-year lease. So there were a ton of people that did that. But Maria was one of the key people, and so there was a Housing First unit with 32 buildings with 32 units. And then she got a second one built. And so now we have 64 units of affordable housing in Juneau. And these are people who, some of them might have died on the street, and before these buildings were beat, some people did die on the street. We had an employee of Rainbow who was a wonderful human being, and he just needed help, and he didn't get it, and he is no longer with us. But a lot of people, 64 people, have housing now that didn't have it before. So it's just amazing. I guess that's all I'll say. Her work ethic is incredible. She is quick. She sees to the heart of the matter, and she really gets things done. And now there is a new Glory Hall in the building, a new shelter in the valley, rather. And it's really incredible. The patrons there have tiny, tiny rooms, but they have individual rooms, and now they can get a good night's sleep. Before in the shelter there were 15 people sleeping in the same room. They couldn't get a good night's sleep. They couldn't get rest. And now the atmosphere in the Valley shelter is wonderful. The patrons love it, and it's been a huge improvement for the people that need to stay at the Glory Hall. And that was Maria's vision, that the Glory Hall could move to the Valley and could do well in the Valley, and it's come true. Maria also has a mother, and she has a son, Dylan, who's 4. And I told Dylan, I said, Dylan, I'm going to be talking about your mother, and I want to ask you, what is the best thing about your mother? And, I thought he might say, oh, she cooks with me, because she's a great cook. Or she hikes with me. She's an inveterate outdoorsman. So I asked him, what is the best thing about your mother? And he said, she loves me. Yep. And I love Maria, and my family loves Maria. Any one of us, my husband or any one of my 3 children, could have gotten up here and given remarks to introduce Maria. So we are so happy and fortunate. My family and our whole community is really happy and fortunate that Maria has decided to make Juneau her home. And that's all. I guess that's all I have to say. So thank you, Maria. So now, Maria, is the time when you have to come up here. You walk up those steps. Very good. I told her before, I said, Maria, please don't make this like a hostage video. I don't think I succeeded.
Good evening. This is such an honor. Thank you.
That's good, you're smiling. That's good.
It was really inspiring to hear Nancy and Kitty, and it was really amazing to be able to drum with you. Thank you so much. Mary Alice also stole my line. My next line was, we were all here earlier for a little rehearsal, and Mary Alice remarked, but the other women seem very graceful and at ease on stage, and you look like a person in a hostage situation. So now even that has gone wrong. We are all so fortunate in this room and not in this room to have a Weir. Mandy, Sarah Lynn, and the Weir's Board of Directors and staff. Thank you so much for tonight, and thank you so much for tonight, meant sarcastically, but thank you so much for what you do every single day and every single other night. Thank you for being the foundation of our community, for wrapping your services and hearts around victims of violence, and for working tirelessly for equity, peace, and healing, and with so much grace. And thank you, Mandy, again, not for tonight, but for being my dearest friend on all other nights, and for your jaw-dropping capacity for love and compassion, for cutting through crap, and for your vision. My speech was really challenging to write, particularly on the topic of improving the lives of Juneau's children, because I really don't have anything to say at all. I love Molly of Denali. It's amazing. I greatly enhanced my son's life and the life of at least 3 of his little friends whose parents learned about Molly of Denali from me. And instead of terrible Russian stories of geese eating children and houses on chicken legs, he gets to watch awesome stories about Molly's life in Alaska. I briefly served on the board of the Juneau Montessori School. I was the head of the facilities committee. In my capacity, I purchased a very questionable shed from Home Depot. It blew over. Maybe on the same day it was assembled. My husband and I took it back to Home Depot and got a full refund, so the school did not lose any funding. And I think that's really all I got. Just kidding. Speaking about myself in front of people is my favorite thing to do. So I'll just keep going. I actually spent a couple of months trying to figure out how to be a woman of distinction without giving a speech. This is true. I thought of a new category, the woman of silent distinction. While Aware is usually open to exploring new ideas and being flexible, we shut this one down right away. I did get some very good advice about this speech. Talk about what makes you distinct and what inspires you. And it was really nice, actually, to reflect. I got to feeling with deepest gratitude for my distinctly, tremendously good luck. My good fortune started at birth. I was distinctly lucky to have great parents and a wonderful extended family. My fortunes continued when my parents decided to leave Russia. I never felt as lucky about their choice as I do now, as the world is confronted with a devastating war in Ukraine. Millions of people are displaced, thousands are killed, entire cities are destroyed, all for no good reason. In Russia, people who oppose the war are being fined, harassed, and sent to prison. We're all very lucky to be in a place where speaking words is not punished by jail or death. This is precious, certainly has not always been, and is not guaranteed to be. I'm so grateful to people, many in this room, who protect our ability to use words with craft, expertise, talent, law degrees. Because of your powerful work, indigenous language words, Tlingit words, truth to power words, equity and dignity words, words that protect our environment are spoken and have weight and meaning. There's often cost, personal and professional, the sacrifice of well-being, of sleep and family time. Thank you so much for doing this work. And just because my grandparents came from Ukraine, I just want to mention that there is a fundraiser next Friday at the Elizabeth Parachovich Hall that the Tlingit and Haida tribes of Alaska have generously donated. And the proceeds will go to support the child refugees in Ukraine. And I think also if you come, it will really lift the Ukrainian people's spirits. There are Ukrainian people who live in Juneau, and it's on the 25th, and tickets are available now. And there will be delicious Ukrainian food, so you should go. Well, this is going a little bit better than I thought it would go, which is not saying a whole lot because I thought it would go very badly. In all seriousness, doing nice things for others is deeply satisfying. Everyone benefits if there's less suffering in the world. Juneau is an amazing place full of people who dedicate their lives to make the world better. From the climate crisis to the housing crisis to the crisis of poverty and despair to the cultural crisis to the crisis of violence. We should all work on getting to not have this place be a lot worse than it is right now. We should consider the common ground that we all stand on and cherish it. And see, this is why it should have been a woman of silent distinction. We should all compost. This is really, really random, but you gave me the microphone, Aware. And if you already compost, you can just totally skip this. It's about like 15 seconds. But at this point, over 50% of all of the Earth's soils are severely depleted, lacking enough nutrients and microbes to support life in a meaningful way. Composting turns your trash into precious life-giving substance instead of greenhouse gas. It's very easy. If you don't like doing it on your own, please sign up for Juneau Composts. If you own a food-related business, please sign up for Juneau Composts. You will see the difference in your trash bills and at the dump and in people's gardens and in your food security. We can't live without food, and we can't grow food without protecting and giving back to our soil. And this brings me almost to the end. I'm so grateful to my dear friends, also so grateful that we're almost at the end. But I am so grateful to my dearest friends, friends who have gone outside with me and made sure I did not drown, even though I was the only person who thought that I was going to drown. And friends who did not let me fall off of a cliff, an actual cliff or an emotional cliff. Friends who put my fears in perspective by using nice words like irrational and get over it. Friends who allowed me to live in their basement, gave me the opportunity to be a glamorous private investigator, and truly let me into their families, even though their families are big and beautiful and do not need any additional members with creepy accents. Friends who continue to eat the terrible food that I make and are super polite about it. Thank you. Thank you so much to my husband Patrick, the most kind, patient, and emotionally stable person that I know. Thank you very much to my son Dylan for letting me be his mom. And lastly, and I think this is why I'm really here, I'm really here because my path crossed with truly distinct people. People experiencing homelessness, my greatest teachers who have allowed me to share and build my life with them. I would not be here if there was not a better glory hole in the valley and 2 Juneau Housing First collaborative projects. And my contributions to this project really was being in the right place at the right time. The Glory Hole board and some of the people like Marla Berg who are not on the Glory Hole board anymore, and Bruce Denton who can never leave the Glory Hole board. The Housing First board, our patrons, all of our partners, donors, volunteers for the community of Juneau, and most importantly, the Glory Hole staff who are here because they are the most amazing and the most supportive, and they deserve all the awards and all of the applause. I'm so grateful to you for everything that you do every day, for all of the problems that you solve. If it was not for you, I would not be here, able to stand here and blabber on and on. And I hope that I blabbered within the allotted time. Thank you very much.
Isn't she amazing? And then she gets up here and she's so funny and she's so great, and I'm standing down there thinking she's gunning for my job. She wants to be the next MC. Well, I want the toaster, Maria. So we'll just have to talk later. Coming up, we are going to have some great door prizes. Did everybody get a chance to look at what the door prizes are over there? There's gift certificates for Alaska Robotics. There's Devil's Club Brewing, Liz Law Estate Planning. I can get that for my husband. All kinds of great door prizes over there. So we're going to start collecting those. We are going to have an intermission, a chance to get dessert, so about 15 minutes. You can take a bathroom break, socialize with everyone. Oh, and I came up with a code. I mean, we've kind of forgotten how to socialize in groups with the pandemic, right? So we're all kind of at a loss. So if you put your hand over your heart as someone approaches you, that means that you miss them, you love them, but you're not touching people right now, and you think Chris is doing a great job. So if you're not shaking hands or hugging, just put your hand over your heart, and we'll all know that means you love me. So awesome. Let's take this intermission, and I'll see you in 15 minutes.
Mama kakaua, Mama kakaua, eku Hawaiina, eku Hawaiina, oge bohiaga hona o wiwi o Hawaiine. Makakaua, he ku'u Hawaiina,
Koke kohiaka hona oiwi o Hawaiine. No ku'ulaui e avipa ai olama.
Kai ko ka moana ka ilana ne Hawaii no wewe ka alulu ka anua a haumea na kulukulu e ka lani ki e kau mai luna no e ke aloha ole hakamalihini kuha'ahea e ku'u Hawaii mama kakaua e ku'u Hawaiina Oke kohiaka ona oiwi o Hawaiine no ku'ulaui e avipa ae olama no ku'ulaui e avipa ae olama. We are stronger when we stand together. We are unshakable like a mountain. Stay united, stay connected with each other, and we grow stronger together, and we're unshakable. Cheese! Mahalo!
Envelopes. Oh, it's the winner. Okay. Oh. So before we cover that, I was sympathizing with Maria when she was told she looked like a hostage situation. I showed up here tonight and one of my friends is like, "You look great. You look like Morticia Addams from the Addams Family." Yeah. So at the intermission, I'm telling Sarah Lynn Tabashnik, "Do I look like Morticia Addams from the Addams Family?" And she says, "No, you don't have black hair." So, having a lot of fun tonight. All right, so time for some door prizes. You ready?
Ready.
You're drawing. Oh, I can't be trusted. I think we need somebody else up here. Can we have Mandy Kennedy up here? Can we have her up here? We need some help, Mandy. So she is the person that made all this possible. And she's trying to keep working and keep hiding, but I'm going to make her come up here. Mandy, you need to hold the bucket so Sarah Lynn can draw. First, let's do a $50 gift certificate for Alaska Robotics. Who does that go to? It goes to Swarupa. All right. That is awesome. So there's our first one. Our next one will go to Devil's Club Brewing. Who does the universe think needs a drink? Stephen Niven. So, okay, Stephen, and you can go back to the table near the door to collect that. And do we have another envelope that we missed, or no? Okay. So next, we've got 2 wine glasses and a bottle of wine. We might as well just cover the liquor right up front here. And that's going to go to Frida Westman. So congratulations, Frida. Back at the table, you can collect your prize. Then we have a COPA gift certificate for $16. Who gets that? The COPA, the person you want to join for coffee, is Kelly Patterson. So congratulations. See you there 10-ish tomorrow? Okay, works. There's a table in the back where you can collect your prize. And the next one is we have Annie Cahill's gift basket with tea, mug, candy, all kinds of cool things. Who gets the Annie Cahill's basket? Oh, two of them. Oh, no. All right. Beth McEwen. Beth, you got the Annie Cahill's gift basket. All right. And next, we have a $50 gift certificate for Marisol, the Mexican restaurant down there. Very good. I had lunch there today. It's awesome. $50 for that. Oh, please be me. And it is Rick Lamina. I'm saying his name wrong. Okay, you know who he is. Rick, we all know who you are. You won. And then we've got a $100 gift certificate to Hearthside Books. Okay, who does the universe think needs to do a lot more reading? And this goes to Catherine Moss. Catherine Moss, $100 gift certificate. All right, that is half of our door prizes. We will give the other half of them away at the end of the night. All right, and now we are going to continue with our honorees, and I would like to welcome Jake Carpenter to the stage.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you, everyone. I'm honored to be here today, to be back with people again, first of all. Most importantly, probably, to celebrate all these amazing women, and to introduce one of my favorite women of distinction, my mom, Bunty Reed. To be honest, I probably don't need to introduce Bunty to many of you. She's been working with families and children in Juneau for nearly 3 decades now, and she seems to know people from every corner of Alaska and from all walks of life. If you ask her, she'll just say she's a do-gooder, a volunteer, or a helper. I know she's going to say that because I read what she's going to say. But really, though, she's just been an activist and a supporter of people my whole life. She has a keen eye for detecting injustices and inequities, and very little fear when it comes to challenging it or calling it out. Some of my earliest memories revolve around packing food boxes, playing nearby as she testified at a meeting or yelled at a politician. At times, our kitchen table was covered in forms that she was filling out or helping somebody fill out or walking through somebody through a process. Or our spare bedroom, if we had one, otherwise it was a living room, was being shared with a mom, a dad, a family, or someone that just needed a little help right now. Her jobs, her hobbies, and her social circles have always been centered around helping others. When my brother was 11, he was in a horrible accident and was in Children's Hospital for several months. So we lived in Children's Hospital. My mom knew every family on the floor. They knew their background, or she knew their background. And she would make sure each and every one of them got the resources they need. She would go to bat for everybody in the hospital. Sometimes staying up at night or going to the library and researching regulations in those people's home states so that when they got there, they were ready to fight. To my mom, Miss Bunty, as she's known to many children and families in Juneau, helping others is a way of life. It's not a job, a calling. It's just something you do, like breathing. So with that, it is my it is with great pride and pleasure that I introduce my mom, Miss Bunty Reed.
Good evening. I'm kind of looking around and seeing everyone, but because of the light, I don't see your faces, so it's actually helpful. I'm honored and humbled to be here tonight with you all and this group of other women who are being honored. For 25 years, I've followed and been amazed by this celebration of women of distinction in our town. It's hard to believe I'm part of this crowd. I feel like I'm here under false pretenses. And Jake, you just blew my thing for me, because while I'm a good do-gooder at heart, I've always received more than I've given, and I'm truly fulfilled by being with and working with kids and families. I'm lucky that this has become my profession as well as my passion. But my first passion wasn't this. I wanted to be a ballet dancer. I practiced constantly and felt wonderful doing it. I was raised in a tiny town of 50 families, mostly immigrants. We were basically a village of women and children on weekdays, as many of the men commuted long hours each day. Some were commercial fishermen, gone for weeks at a time, and some, like my father, left Monday for the city and returned late Friday night. So unusually so for the 50s and early 60s, women in our village took on full roles in town. Our mothers learned to drive the fire trucks, fill the tanks, and fight fires alongside or even instead of our brothers and fathers. The women ran the water district. The modeling of what was at that time non-traditional roles made a great impression of all of us kids who grew up there. Additionally, my family volunteered a lot. Food pantry, church and school fundraisers, hosting inner city kids for visits to our apple ranch, cleaning the church and the cemetery, visiting the elderly and impaired. Moms would send us there with a few flowers or perhaps a cake or loaf of bread to scope it out and make sure there weren't unmet needs. From the age of 12, most of us kids had jobs of some kind, but that was entirely separate from volunteering and community responsibilities. I was born with a congenital muscular condition, but that did not keep me from having to be part of it. My folks worked with me constantly to minimize its effects with exercise, stretches, dancing, etc. We were modeled behavior that told us we could make a difference, regardless of gender and to a certain extent, regardless of ability. Back to ballet. On a visit to the city where my aunt lived, she made an appointment with a ballet teacher to get direction as to how they could nurture my wish. The teacher took one look at me, waved her hand dismissively, and said, "This child? She can never be a dancer. She has no neck." Can you imagine a swan with no neck? Stop wasting our time. I'm sure more was said, but devastated, I heard nothing else. I was just about to turn 6 years old. The brush with that woman taught me three things. 1, words can be horrible weapons. 2, some goals aren't reachable in the way you think they might be. And 3, having others around you to hold you up when you're hurting makes all the difference in the world. At almost 6, and I remember this, I swore that I would look at people as people, and I would never do to anyone what that woman did to me. She may have been right in her estimation. I'm not the body type to be a ballerina, but she was cruel in her communication. But interestingly, she motivated me to be someone who holds people up, doesn't put them down. When I was 9, my mom was diagnosed with cancer, and when I was 12, she passed. This is an awful situation for any family, and we were no different. But But the families in our little town were there for us during her illness, particularly the women, and were there for Dad and me afterwards. Kindness and caring surrounded us. Even in my deepest grief and sadness, I knew that there were adults who cared for me. Without them, I don't know where I would be. I wanted to grow up and be an adult who cared. Eventually, I did grow up. I went to college and quit to marry a commercial fisherman. We moved to the coast, and I became an active volunteer on the Coastal Commission, the fire department, the ambulance service, and the Fisherman's Wives Coalition. I also worked full-time and was soon having children. Fast forward 5 years, and I was in a new state, a newly single mom of 2, working 2 jobs and hanging on by my teeth just barely. A coworker saw my struggles and invited me to a shared leadership parenting support group. This became a crossroads in my life. The support I received there empowered me to go back to school, find decent childcare, and realize that helping mothers like me was something I wanted to do. I volunteered for that group for years. I eventually remarried, moved south with my new husband, and got a job in social services. Still volunteering with my kids at food banks and community events. We loved it there. But it took slightly less than 3 years for my new husband to talk me into coming back to his hometown of Juneau. Just try it for a year, he said. That was in 1992. 8 weeks after we moved here, my 11-year-old son was injured in a terrible accident. We were airlifted to Harborview in Seattle, and I left my 10-year-old, who Jake just introduced me, there with my husband. We were there for months. My understanding of the reality of disabling conditions was to undergo a huge learning curve and culture shock. Thank goodness for the women and families who were there, and for the women and families who were there when I came back to Juneau with my extremely impaired son, who taught me so much. It was tough. Even with supports, even with friends, it was tough. Like many who experience a devastating medical catastrophe, many things changed. We had to declare bankruptcy. We lost our house. The attention was to my disabled son, and I often wonder if my non-disabled children missed out because of it. I made up my mind at that time that I would never, if I could prevent it, allow others to go through the isolation and devastation that had happened to us. And I would strive to never condescend or patronize families. Never. Ray's accident opened a door into a brand new world. Not all bad, but not easy. I learned things, though, that made my own journey through 2 bouts of cancer and an autoimmune disorder much less traumatic than it could have been. I had members in my new role as a mom whose family revolved around our disabled member. I found the innate need to help had a new focus, which would be my savior. I was able to learn laws about community services. I worked in children's mental health and developmental disability agencies, and I saw that parents and their kids were often absent from treatment decisions and shouldn't be. How disrespectful is that? I advocated with others in working to have a person-centered, community-based focus on services for children and families. I learned that there were wait lists for services. The families struggled while they wait. They still do. I know and have found it over and over again that families are always doing the best they can. Let me repeat that. Families are doing the best they can. The systems in place are sometimes less than helpful. However, I am grateful for them, don't get me wrong. When I meet a family, I assume the best, not the worst. And when I find challenges, I work as a team with them, looking for help. And I try to find or create positive experiences for them to escape their reality just for a few minutes. Often I just listen. My work and work values took me to work at the Family Resource Center, Christine Inc., Hope, Juneau Youth Services, volunteering at St. Vincent de Paul, serving on the Homeless Coalition, the NAMI and Polaris House Boards, the Methodist Camp Board, Parents Anonymous National Leadership Team, among others. I've had the privilege to present at 4 National Child Abuse Prevention Conferences and to travel to other states to help them start shared leadership groups. I have allied with women who understood, who understand, who know or were learning ways to change the system and were willing to mentor me. Because of that, we were able to build the Children of Incarcerated Parents Project, which worked with the families of parents in prison, doing parenting groups, classes in prison and halfway house, the last remnant of which is Camp Champ, an invitational free camping experience at the Methodist camp, which, by the way, it's happening again this year, so watch for the posters. We were able to bring Parents Anonymous to Juneau, which flourished for 10 years, providing support to families of all kinds. Much of what we created is under the radar. But even with the end of an agency or a program, positive changes remain. My second set of thanks in this would be particularly to Christine Culleton, Helen Kalk, and were she here, Sharon Loba, for mentoring me in my journey. For these last 10 years, I have worked for the state of Alaska, working with agencies who strive to provide community services with ever-diminishing funding. The best we can do with challenging times is appreciate others and celebrate what we've accomplished. Know that despite our challenges, despite the pandemic, we can still make a difference. We shouldn't struggle in silence, but share our stories, not as victims, but as survivors and leaders. Just before the pandemic made me all too familiar with my own home office, when I was still daily out and about, I was walking down Seward to get a cup of coffee. A lovely young woman stopped me with a broad smile. "Miss Bunty," she said, "I'm so glad to see you. You made such a difference for me." She proceeded to update me on all the wonderful positives in her life, college, job, marriage, etc., while I racked my brain trying to remember her name and the context of our interaction. She wrapped up her paragraph with, "And I still have the blue teddy bear, and sister still has Pinky as well." Then I remembered. 2 little girls, sisters, who had never been off the bus line, so apprehensive, huddling together during the ride out to camp. Camp Champ, that is. They lived with Grandma while parents struggled with substances. These were loved children with less than ideal environments. They rode to camp fearfully and quietly, but rode back laughing and singing at the top of their lungs. They both returned to camp for several years, with one of them even coming back as a mentor to high school. Sometimes it's easy to wonder if one makes a difference, but moments like that show that it does. Thank you. Stay here for this. Yeah, have a shake. Thank you.
So much inspiration. And now we're about to top off your inspiration glass with our final speaker. I'm so excited to hear more about Dr. Bridget Weiss. And to do her introduction, can we welcome to the stage Ebbett Siddon.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Yvette Siddon. I am the chair of the Juneau School Board, and on behalf of our entire board, as well as our former members, Paul Kelly and Kevin Allen, who I think are here tonight as well, it's my honor to introduce our superintendent, Dr. Bridget Weiss. It's been exactly 2 years since our schools were closed down overnight, and our entire educational system was turned on its head. And for me as a parent, it both feels like forever ago and yesterday at the same time. Just like that, distance learning happened. Teachers learned Zoom overnight, and our living rooms became classrooms. And that abrupt transition was an incredible feat of our entire community. And it really hinged on the dedication and the commitment of every staff in our district. And we are so fortunate to have had Bridget at the helm through all of it. We first reopened classrooms in January of 2021, and then we fully reopened full-time for all students, welcoming over 4,000 students into our buildings in August of 2021. And since then, we have not had to close any buildings due to COVID outbreaks. And this might sound strange to say, but there was no roadmap for how to lead a school district through a global pandemic. But I often had to remind myself of that at board meetings because Bridget is so capable. And it surprised me to think she didn't already have the answers sometimes. And she just really never lost sight of the horizon of what was best for our students in our district. And it's a testament to her understanding of education. And that's why Time Magazine named her one of the, let's see, let me get this right, educators who saved a pandemic school year. And it's the trust and the relationships that she has built in our community and across the state as why she was named Alaska's Superintendent of the Year in 2022. Communication has been key to the successful operations of our schools for the last few years. We've had greater engagement with our community and our families. We've really appreciated the partnerships we've had with CBJ, with our assembly. I saw you out there somewhere. Juneau Public Health and Bartlett Regional Hospital. I also want to recognize the district leadership because I know Bridget wouldn't want us not to forget she doesn't do it alone, and those staff who support her help support the entire district. Bridget has worked nearly every day of the last 2 years, nights and weekends, as my text string can probably validate, but really to support all of the students and staff and the families in our district. It was not easy. The decisions in front of her were not easy, and there were not easy answers, and we recognize they were not without consequence. And she carries the weight of that, of all of it, of all of the people the decisions impacted. She felt it and she shouldered it, and I'm so thankful that we can recognize her tonight for all of her dedication to our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Yvette, and other members of the board that are here tonight. As a superintendent, our lifeline is our board, and for a nomination like this to come from the board that supports me was quite overwhelming, to say the least, and demonstrates really why we were able to do what we could do for Juneau as we worked our way through this experience we had in the last couple of years. I'm going to try to share a couple things with you without getting too emotional, which is a real challenge, but I'm going to give it my best shot. But I'm going to get lost in that, so before I do that, I also want to I'm just going to get emotional, thanking my family for being here. I started teaching literally the day of my 22nd birthday was my first day in the classroom. I thought it was the longest day of my life. Well, payback, tonight is my son's birthday, and tonight he's here with me. This might be the longest day of his life on his birthday tonight. So I very much appreciate Travis and his wife Beth being here, and my nephew and his friend Peyton, my husband's mom, and my sister, who has given more community service hours in her lifetime than I will ever hold a candle to, so she's an inspiration. And my husband, who, without his patience and support for the insane world of mine, I couldn't give as much as I do without him. So thank you. So a couple of things, just, what drives me, and first just what gives me strength is my family. My two grandfathers came to Juneau in the early 1900s, one from Greece and one from the Midwest, and settled here. And because of them, Grandpa Lester and Grandpa Nick, I'm here. And 3 generations later, I have the absolute privilege of giving back to Juneau as much as it has given me. So my strength comes from my heritage, my mother, who isn't here tonight, but is definitely here in spirit, and the rest of my family. I'm going to tell you 3 quick stories of children who have made a difference in my world, who have really formed me to be the educator that I am. The first was a student that I had in my very first classroom. I was teaching math at junior high, and I was really excited to teach math. I love math. I thought my job was going to be to get kids good at math and have them love math would be just awesome. Well, the last day of that year came, and this student I'd had all year, this little 7th grade girl, who I had noticed throughout the year was fairly disheveled, often came to school with a dirty face, clothes that were tattered a bit. I had noticed that throughout the year, but remember, I'm a first-year teacher, and there's a lot going on when you're trying to teach 5 periods of math for the very first time, every day. And that last day of school, she approached me, and she had a worn, tattered, stuffed animal in her hand. And I don't remember exactly what she said to me, but she gave that to me as a thank you. And my initial instinct was to give that back and say, oh my goodness, no, keep that. It was clearly very special to her. But when I looked in her eyes, I knew that she needed to give that to me. That somehow during the year, I had made a connection with her without even realizing it, and she had felt seen in my classroom. So I took that graciously and thanked her, and I have that stuffed animal in my office. It's been in every classroom I've had and every office I've had for 38 years. As a forever reminder that children need us to look in their eyes and accept them. Every child brings something to us. They bring a gift into our classrooms, and many of our students do not have a wealth of gifts at home that they are bringing to us, but they bring themselves, their honesty, their heart, and their willingness to learn. I was teaching at high school a number of years later, and I had a student, Christina, who was in my 2nd semester class as a senior. I'd never met Christina before. It was a large high school, about 1,500 students. And by now, I had figured out that I really wasn't teaching math. I was teaching kids. And that sounds a little cliche, but it was really a transformation from that day that little girl handed me that stuffed animal. I realized the difference. So I really noticed that Christina was not happy with me. Like, I would try to brighten her day. I would, try to engage, and she was very closed off. And softball season started, and I was coaching softball. Well, here was Christina. So I am trying the same thing on the field, hoping it'll translate to the classroom. Nothing. So finally one day I'm walking out to practice, and Christina was in the vicinity of me, about 10 feet away. She wouldn't be too close. And I said, gosh, Christina, I think you're allergic to me. What's going on? And it just broke a barrier, and she looked at me, and I said, I don't know what it is, but really, you kind of act like you're allergic to me. What did I do? And she couldn't really say anything. The next day, she came by my classroom in the morning and started talking to me. And in that conversation, I found out that I reminded her of her mother, who she had been separated from for about 10 years and had had no contact. From that day through the rest of the spring, I got to know Christina really, really well. She confided in me that she was suicidal. She didn't want me to tell anyone. I had to figure that out. That was a lot of responsibility to carry. We got through graduation. I went to her graduation. I went to her graduation party. I found the contact information for her mother. I tried to have her come to graduation. She didn't make it, but I went and supported Christina through that. I also talked to her counselor with her permission, who told me this is real, that Christina had attempted a couple of times earlier in a lifetime, and when Christina talks about this, it matters. It means she is serious. So I carried that with me. Christina would come by the house and sit outside while I was painting that summer, and then she went off to be her young adult self. A year and a half later, I got word that Christina had taken her life. I knew that day, this was long before cell phones, communication was much harder. She had reunited with her mother. I was so happy about that. That day I knew that nothing is ever enough, that we can always give more and pay attention more, and I would have given anything for her to reach back out just one more time. I would have been on the next airplane to where she was. We don't always get those chances. So, looking in each other's eyes, filling them with grace and kindness is absolutely critical, and more critical today than it ever has been. The last story I will tell you is about a little boy named Tyler. I became an elementary principal. Every elementary school child is cute after you have spent 20 years at secondary, let me just tell you. But Tyler was really cute. He was a kindergartner, and a little itty-bitty kindergartner. I showed up at this school brand new. I am trying to figure out what this whole world of elementary is about. And Tyler was just one that stole your heart. He always had a grin. Always had a grin. One day his kindergarten teacher brought him to me because he had bruises on each side, on each cheek, that were very clearly from a hand. We talked to Tyler. We asked him what had happened, if anything had happened recently, why he might have bruises on his cheeks. He said he fell down some stairs. Clearly, that was not, we could tell that that is not what had happened. So we called Child Protective Services. We made a report. 4 or 5 days later, I saw Tyler in the hallway, and with that big grin, I gave him a big high five. And to give Tyler a high five, I had to get way down here so that it was high for him. And he just grinned at me, that big, huge smile. That was a Tuesday. On Wednesday evening, I got a phone call that Tyler had passed away. And he had died from abuse. It was 9 days from that phone call to OCS to when Tyler, the night before he turned 7, died. Tyler stays with me. It was a huge loss for our school. It was a huge loss for our community. Systems failed Tyler. Systems fail our children. Systems win for our kids. They are champions for our children. But there are times when our system still fails, and that's just work that we all still have to do. I wish every day was filled with wins. They aren't. So that's part of what drives me, because I keep waiting. I have a magic wand, literally, in my office, and when I feel that things are out of my control, I look at that magic wand and I think, if I could wave this magic wand, what might I wish for? And it is almost always healing for our children who need it, for the world to be just filled with more grace and kindness. We cannot ever give too much grace and kindness. So I just challenge you each as we move forward, think about the people around you and commit to spreading joy and kindness and grace to children, to families, to those that need that in their world, and we don't always know who those people are. So you always win if you're spreading some of that that wasn't there before you got there. So thank you very much. And I am so honored to be, first of all, it's horrible to go last, and secondly, with this amazing group of women and colleague honorees. It's just really amazing. So thank you very much.
Congratulations, and thank you so much. Our evening is starting to draw to a close. I know we all have a lot of inspiration to process, a lot of tears to be dried. It's been quite a night, so gives us a lot to think about, and I hope that you're putting into your equation your continued support of AWARE, because they all know Tyler. We all know Tyler. Everyone in this room knows Tyler. And the work will continue. So let's do some door prizes to wrap up the evening. Do we have Sarah Lynn and the names? I think maybe we're winding down towards the evening, and it's been a lot of emotion tonight. Such an amazing experience. And those drummers, what do you think? The drum circle, that comes back again? Wow. I don't recall having done that before, and that was definitely worth doing again. All right, and one last visit to the stage for Mandy Kennedy for having organized this whole thing. Can we thank her for that? Can you imagine throwing a dinner party for 350 people? That's not easy. Okay, so first, Alaska Robotics. We have a $50 gift certificate that goes to Jana Auger. Congratulations. Next, we have Liz Law Estate Planning, a gift certificate for $750. So you can get that will taken care of, Justin Jones. And our next one, you're all ready, Justin. So, and next, Heritage, a $25 gift certificate. Maybe you could take Justin out, he might need it. Judy Blankenship. So your gift certificates are in the back, and now we have a COPA gift certificate, $16. And that goes to Crystal Merritt. Congratulations, Crystal. We have next some Lisa McCormick jewelry, and who is our lucky winner? That goes to Francine and Laird Jones. Nice. We only have 2 more prizes. This is pretty exciting. Marisol, $50 gift certificate.
That's what you want, right?
Me. Dig deep. Okay, and it's not me. It's Kara Peters. Kara Peters. And the last prize is an AWARE hoodie. Is it the blue one?
Yes.
Oh, that's such a cool hoodie. It's got the peace sign. Very nice. And that goes to Luke Kennedy. Is that your husband? Yeah. And he gets it. He must be thrilled. He gets it AWARE hoodie.
Another one. He has one.
Oh, okay. So another one. So
sorry,
she
Luke.
just gave away your hoodie, Luke.
He has one already.
That's an executive wife decision you just saw. He doesn't need that. Supanika Ordans. All right, you got a hoodie. Congratulations. All right, and that brings our agenda to a close. And what I would like is let's just have one last round of appreciation for the amazing staff, board, and clients of AWARE. And thank all of you for coming. I'll see you next year.